The operant behaviors that we want in our classrooms must be reinforced in a timely manner. Reinforcement cannot wait. I will praise you tomorrow is not going to work. It must happen at that moment. So timely reinforcement is critical if we want operant behaviors to be learned by our students. Delay of reinforcement. When teachers delay reinforcing appropriate behavior, it hinders performance because the student begins to wonder, will it work? Will my teacher praise me? Will it happen? If it's not going to happen, why should I bother? To make sure that students continue the good behaviors, reinforcement must be timely. 2. By selecting which behavior to reinforce, we can direct the learning process in the classroom. Obviously, with 20, 30, 40 students in the classroom and different students with different behaviors to fix, what behaviors will you fix? You need to see what is needed by most of your class. Okay, most students need to raise their hands when they need to open their mouths. So you make a rule and then you reinforce. When students raise hands, you reinforce. You acknowledge them. You say something good, and those are the students you call upon. When a student who hasn't raised his hand blurts out something, you pretend to be deaf. You move away and you ask another student to give you the response, even if what the first student without raising his hand was trying to say was the correct answer. The response goes to the student that raised his hand. So choose the behaviors you want. Direct the learning in your classroom. As the teacher, you are in control. You should know what kind of classroom you want. Okay? And all teachers need to look at that. Every year when you get a new class, when you're beginning a new year, look, this is the kind of classroom I want. Those are then the behaviors that you will work with. Those are the behaviors you will direct students to improving, getting better, motivating, and reinforcing, because that is your target. You set the target for the year. What kind of a classroom do you want? And honestly, you can't wait a year. You can't wait 10 months, 11 months to see the results. That means most of the time in the year, you lived your classroom life in chaos. You can't do that. And that is why starting from day one and reinforcing the appropriate behaviors you want is a good thing to do. Learners can acquire new operants. In other words, students, children, anybody can acquire new behaviors. Operants, behaviors, acquire new behaviors. You learned one behavior, and if you've practiced it enough, that behavior has become a habit. Now move to another behavior. Work on that behavior. Over time, that becomes a habit. Move to the third behavior, and so on. New operants can be used. As behavior is shaped, new and more complex concepts can be introduced and desired behavior again reinforced. So raise the bar. Every time a behavior is learned, a behavior is internalized, start with a new behavior. Move into acquiring additional appropriate behaviors with and for your students. That will make sure you have a reasonable classroom free of chaos and inappropriate behavior that we as teachers would not like in our classroom. Now, this is what Skinner said. Education is what survives when what has been learned has been forgotten. You've learned the good behaviors. You don't need the reinforcement anymore. You behave appropriately now automatically. So the new behavior you learned, you've forgotten. It just happens automatically, just like you breathe. You breathe. You don't think about breathing. You are sleeping and you're still breathing. That is what Skinner meant when he said, when what someone has learned has been forgotten and it survives, that is when we've provided an education for our children.